Hi guys. So today, I think it's going to be interesting, Kat, where I go with this one because I really want to talk about self-identity. And as we're always going through life and all of the twists and turns that we face, self-identity has been something that's forefront for me, not just with the work that I do with clients, but also been like a really personal journey back to myself. And I've had quite a few people, in particularly men, which have said to me, when are you going to share your story? And I've really wondered whether telling my story helps people or whether it perpetuates being in victim mode. And those of you that know me know that I don't like victim mentality and victim mode. I understand that there's a voice that needs to come out when there's that inner victim that actually needs to be heard, listened to, respected, released, etc. I think my ick there is we've all met people that are constantly in victim mode, and that's never a place that you want to reside in because it's a sad space. But I believe that self-identity is actually a big question and a big conversation because it's so convoluted what we can place our value in, what we can place who we are into. And so before I go too far into any sharing today, I wanted to ask you, where do you place your identity? Are you placing it in what you do for work? Are you placing it in your relationship, in your children, in your hobbies, in all of these external things? Because at the end of the day, they aren't who you are. It's not the essence of you. It's not your personality constructs. It's not your core. So the reason this is really important to me personally, not just professionally, is because I know what it's like when life challenges really shake everything. And I've always been a person that constantly strives to understand more about myself and keep learning and keep being the best version of myself that I am. And that comes with a double-edged sword because I'm a high achiever, because I have a tendency to perfectionism and expecting a lot of myself, which then needs to be balanced out with being in flow and just trusting and allowing and all of those balancing masculine and feminine energies. But outside of the seeming control that we have in our hemisphere, life happens. And when I work with clients, they can go through major things that shift what they thought their life was, or the trajectory that they were going, or what they thought were pieces of who they are, and can feel a sense of uncertainty of who they are, of where they're going, of what they want, of just a client expressed to me last week that it feels like being a shell of who they are. And I think we've all experienced that on some degree, whether we've lost a job and we had so much identity of ourselves as being that role. For example, I've worked with a lot of first responders for the past 6 or 7 years. And when some of them are medically discharged, or when they're going through PTSD, or when they come back from service, so war veterans and stuff like that as well, there's a massive loss of identity because of who they perceive themselves to be. But it's not just in those types of roles. We can place a lot of who we think we are in any industry. That's just an example. Other areas that I see a lot of loss of identity is when there's been a loss of maybe a family member, whether it's, parent, partner, children, when there's someone pivotal in your life that's no longer with you anymore, that can really shift your perspective on life and maybe even your role in life too. And that can be quite confronting to face. Other aspects can be, relationship breakdowns, divorce. There's so many different aspects of that can impact us. So I'll start sharing just a little bit of my story today, because I went through just some major life changes. I'm actually not going to joke about it, because this is actually probably one of my most personal shares. So about 2 years ago, I went through a relationship breakdown, and we'd been together for almost 10 years. It was getting closer to that 10-year mark when we actually separated, so we didn't quite make it that far. And there's lots of stories that I can share in relation to that, about mental and emotional health, about domestic violence, about all sorts of aspects that aren't actually in relation to where I want to go today, but it's stuff I'll share down the track. But what happened for me during that separation wasn't just the loss of a relationship that I'd been in since I was 23, but it was also a loss of everything. I lost, my home. I lost my finances. I lost my business. I lost my partner. I lost my dog. I lost so many things. And it was interesting for me because it took me probably a good 12 months or so to really sit in my shit and unpack it, even with all of my wisdom, knowledge, qualifications, all of it. And that's actually why I took a hiatus from coaching and teaching, because I was self-nurturing, because I truly believe you can't give what you don't have. And I literally only had capacity to hold space for other wellness professionals until I was congruent with myself again, that I could hold space for anyone else. So during that time, it's like I got to strip back to the bare bones of me and realize that during that relationship, I had, in order to be and survive, and just the dynamic that I was in, I had piece by piece lost aspects of myself before it even got to that point, because of the situation, because of how it unfolded. And I wasn't myself anymore, because me at my core wasn't accepted and wasn't acceptable. And those of you that watch this, that know me, know how loud I am and how big of a personality I am and how big I love and care for people, and, you know, the magnitude of the essence of who I really am. And I'd lost that. And I toned myself down and watered myself down, and believed in the things that I'd been told, and believed in everything that unfolded. And so I know from a very, very personal sense what it's like to basically start your whole life from scratch, to have realized that you've lost the essence of who you really are and need to, or get to, go down the path of rediscovering yourself and relearning who you are. And while I can look back at this now in hindsight as a blessing that I got to start my life again, that I got to start everything from scratch and create what I want and actually fully embrace all components of who I am in every aspect, and then invite people into my life that not only accept that of me, but love that about me. So it's definitely a blessing. But I know when I was going through the worst of it, how anxiety and depression and suicide and how other really heavy, serious things impact you. And these are things that I don't share an awful lot, other than to a couple close people in my inner circle, because I think sometimes there's a perception that I've always got my shit together. And to a degree, that's true. And to another degree, does anyone on the face of the planet have their shit together? I'm yet to meet one. So we're all working through things. But I had this expectation that I would be perceived as weak. And my very nature is strong, resilient, courageous. Even if I look at the industries that I've worked in, I've always worked in male-dominated worlds, and I've always held my own. I've always been able to stand with them or surpass them, because like even when I was working in the gyms, I used to love that I could always kick the guys' asses in so many ways. Like when we'd be doing core strength stuff, I'd have the strongest core. You know, it's like, suckers. I used to always love being able to remind myself and then remind everybody else, I don't need anyone. I've got me. But in doing so, that's denying a lot of the delicate, softer aspects of myself that are exceptionally loving and affectionate and kind and nurturing and very, very feminine. And that was very squashed behind a strong front that could handle everything. And I can, because I've done it. And that doesn't mean it was easy. And so I feel that it's actually time to share, because obviously even with this message today, there's lots of stories that I can share on so many different aspects of starting life again from a wellness aspect, from a mind aspect, from navigating new love aspects, from all of the different perspectives. And there's a place where we get to rediscover our self-identity and not place it on anything external, but bring it back to all of the qualities that you actually possess as a person, to rediscovering what truly makes you happy, what you want to experience in life, what your core values are, how to balance your mind, your heart, your intuition, how to unpack your self-worth, how to unpack your self-love and self-acceptance, and so many other components that I have learned over my life, but really had to sit into a massive relearning these past 2 years. And so, with starting to share little snippets of this today, my hope is that you can sit in the questions of where are you placing your identity, and know that you're not alone out there, that we're all going through stuff or have gone through stuff. And I truly believe that someone's survival blueprint actually helps other people not have to struggle to the level that maybe you do. Because I know when I was at my worst, and I will talk about suicidal thoughts another day because I don't want to just skim past it, but I know the depths of where you can really go when things get truly dark. So this has become quite long-winded, and normally I try and keep things between 5 and 10 minutes. So if you've stuck with me to this point, I must have hit some sort of chord with you. And if that's the case, I want to hear from you, because I do believe there's strength in being vulnerable and sharing our pain, because it's real and it's honest and it's life. And I think if we can help each other and we can sit in the uncomfortable aspects of being vulnerable together, then we can actually help each other out the other side to live a truly, genuinely happy life that every single one of you deserves to have. So I'm going to leave it there for now. And I promise, because I've promised so many people that I'm going to start talking about this. And so I'm doing it. Here it is. Here's the start. So I would love to hear from you. You can comment or DM if any snippet of this resonated with you in some way. And I'll chat with you all again soon.